start off by getting some introductions started. Who would like to start? Okay, good. Who wants to start? Okay. You.
My name is Caitlin.
Caitlin.
And my name is Caitlin.
Caitlin and Caitlin. Yeah.
My name is Macy.
Mason.
My name is Faith.
Faith.
My name is Zaria.
Zaria.
Okay.
Ozark.
My name is Leora.
York. Okay. Caitlin. Caitlin. Mason. Faith. Zaria. And Leora. Okay. She said Lord. I'm sorry. Excuse me, I'm not perfect. Okay. Today I will be reading Viking Ships at Sunrise by Mary Pope Osborne. Y'all ever heard of Mary Pope Osborne? Or any of her books? She writes very good children books. Okay? Now, what I would like for y'all to do while I read is to tell me the characters and describe them to me by what I've read. Okay? You understand what I just said?
Yes, ma'am.
What I asked you to do.
Why? We gotta tell you about the characters and what they seem like.
Yeah, I like that. Okay, now judging by the cover of this book, what do you think it's going to be about? Okay.
Friends, two friends that are going on a ship and something's about to happen.
Okay. I like that.
I think it's gonna be about they go somewhere
Mm-hmm.
and they end up in another timeline and they ride on a ship.
Okay. Sorry.
I think it's gonna be a lot to really sailing across the sea and in different situations and they solve it together and they're gonna fight.
Right. Ooh, I like that one.
I think it's gonna be about a brother and a sister going on a hiking ship.
Do you know what a Viking is? You do? What is he like?
A Viking is like, it's like a person and they're like the people and they have this some kind of pointy hat and some kind of armor ish stuff that they wear.
What do they do?
Some sing.
Sing?
Yeah.
Okay.
Vikings are people who wear hats with horns
Okay.
and they fight
Mm-hmm.
and they wear armor.
Nice.
I think Vikings are just like the army. Like in some reasons, they're just like the army.
Anybody else want to take a wild guess? Mm-hmm.
I think Vikings are people who like sometimes they be enslaved and others.
Okay. Well, a Viking is a seafaring people. They are from English, Sweden, and I think they're British as well. And they got their name because they're traders, explorers, and warriors, which means they fight, they get goods, they trade with people. Like, say, I had this folder, and you needed a folder, right? What would you trade me for this folder?
Another folder.
Another folder? But I already have one.
Back just
See, that's a trade. Now, warriors, you said army. We can think of army people as warriors as well. So they fight for territory or for a different reason as well. Like, say you have something that I want. We're going to go to war because I want it, but you won't give it to me. So we're going to fight for it. Okay? Understand? Gotcha. Okay. Let's start reading. summer day in Frog Creek, Pennsylvania, a mysterious treehouse appeared in the woods. 8-year-old Jack and his 7-year-old sister Annie climbed into the treehouse. They found that it was filled with books. Jack and Annie soon discovered that the treehouse was magic and it could take them to places in the books. All they had to do was to point to the picture and wish to go there. Along the way, they discovered that the treehouse belongs to Morgan Le Fay. Morgan is a magician librarian from the time of King Arthur. She travels through time and space gathering books. In the Magic Tree House, books numbers 8 through 12, Jack and Annie solve 4 ancient riddles and become master librarians. To help them in their future tasks, Morgan gave Jack and Annie secret library cards with letters ML on them. As master librarians, Jack and Annie must go on 4 missions to save stories from ancient libraries. They have already brought back a scroll from an ancient Roman town and a bamboo book from ancient China. Now they are able to head out on their 3rd mission. Before dawn, Jack opened his eyes. A thin gray light comes through his window. His clock reads 5 a.m. All was quiet. Today we're going to ancient Ireland, he thought, back more than 1,000 years. Morgan Le Fay had told him that it was a dangerous time with Vikings raiding the coast. You awake? Came a whisper. Annie stood in his doorway. She was dressed and ready to go. Yeah, meet you outside, said Jack as he climbed out of bed. He pulled on his jeans, t-shirt, and sneakers. He put his secret library card into his backpack with his notebook and pencil. Then he hurried downstairs. Annie was waiting for him in their yard. The air was damp and misty. Ready, she asked. Jack took a deep breath. I guess, he said. He was a little worried about the Vikings. They walked silently over the dewy grass. Then they ran up their street into the Frog Creek woods. Mist clung to the trees as they walked through the dark woods. It's hard to see, said Jack. Where's the treehouse? Asked Annie. I have no idea, said Jack. Just then something fell in front of them. Watch out, shouted Jack. He covered his head. The ladder, cried Annie. Jack opened his eyes. The rope ladder from the magic tree house dangled in front of them. Jack looked up. The tree house was hidden in the mist. Come on, let's go, said Annie. She grabbed the ladder and started up. Jack followed. They climbed through the wet air into the tree house. Hello, said Morgan. I'm glad to see you. She was sitting in the corner at her feet, where the scroll they brought from Roman times and the bamboo book from ancient China. I'm so glad to see you, said Jack. Me too, said Annie. It's good that you both came early, said Morgan. She reached into the folds of her robe and pulled out a piece of paper. Here's the ancient story you must find. Today, she said. Morgan handed the paper to Jack. On it, the words read, Serpent's Magna, that's the word. The mysterious writing reminded Jack of the writing from their trip to the Roman town of Pompeii. Okay, show y'all the picture. What y'all think is about to happen? Anybody can go.
It looks like they're about to jump into I think they're about to go on another trip, their 3rd one, that they're going to visit. They're going to find the things they're going to go to where the Vikings
like Latin, he said. Very good, said Morgan. It is Latin. But I thought they spoke Latin in ancient Rome, said Annie. Aren't we going to Ireland? You are, said Morgan. But during the Dark Ages in Europe, educated people wrote in Latin. The Dark Ages, said Jack. Yes, said Morgan. The times after the fall of the Roman Empire. Why is it called dark, said Jack. It was a difficult time, said Morgan. People had to work very hard just to feed and clothe themselves. There was not a lot of time for playing, learning, or making art and music. Morgan pulled a book from her robe. Your research, she said, handing it to Annie. The title read, Ireland Long Ago. Remember, said Morgan, your research book will guide you. But in your darkest hour, only the ancient story can save us, Jack and Annie said together. And you remember this, said Morgan. It must be your darkest hour when there is no help left. If you ask for help too soon, it will not come. And we have to find the story first, said Annie. That is true, said Morgan. Do you have your secret library card? Jack and Annie nod. She showed them the wisest person you meet, said Morgan. Don't worry, said Annie. I think we're ready. Annie pointed to the cover of the Ireland book. I wish we could go there, she said. She gave Morgan a little wave. See you soon. Good luck, said Morgan. The wind started to blow. The treehouse started to spin. It spun faster and faster. Then everything was still. Absolutely still. Chapter 2. The Steep Climb. Jordan. Ooh, I said Jordan. Lord, please forgive me. His name is Jack. Jack opened his eyes. The light was still gray, but the air was even damper and colder than in Frog Creek. Wow, I'm in a long dress, said Annie. It's scratchy. Hey, I've got a little purse on my belt. It has my library card in it. Jack looked down at his own clothes. He's wearing a shirt and trousers made of heavy wool. He also wore leather slippers. In place of his backpack was a leather bag. Wow, said Annie. Looking out the window, this really looks like the Dark Ages. Jack looked out too. He couldn't see anything through the mist. It's just because the sun's not up yet, he said. I better check the book. Annie handed the Ireland book to Jack. He opened it and read aloud. The early Middle Ages were once known as the Dark Ages because learning and culture nearly vanished throughout Europe. Scholars today praise the brave Irish monks who helped keep the Western civilization alive. What do civilization and monks mean? Asked Annie. I think civilization is when people have books and art and good manners, said Jack. Monks are very religious people who spend their time praying and reading and helping people. Well, I don't see any civilization or monks out there, said Annie, pointing to the mist. Jack pulled out his notebook and wrote, Brave monks in Ireland. Then he looked at Annie. If we find civilization, I think we'll find the lost story, he said. Let's go, Annie. She lifted her skirt and climbed out the window. Jack read more in the Ireland book. The monks copied the ancient writings of Western world. Before printing was invented, all books had to be written and copied by hand. Hey, we're on the cliff, Annie called from outside, above the ocean. Be careful, said Jack. He stuffed the Ireland book and his notebook into his leather bag. Then he climbed out the window. Annie was peering over the edge. Jack looked too. There was a rocky shore 20 feet below. Waves slapped against the rocks, seagulls swooping and gliding above the sea. It doesn't look like there's any civilization down there, said Jack. Maybe we should climb these, said Annie, pointing towards the steep steps that cut into the cliff. Jack looked up. The cliff also rose above them in the mist. We better wait till the sun comes up, he said. Let's just go super slow, said Annie. She started up the stone steps. Wait, Annie, said Jack. They might be slippery. Whoa, she said, almost falling backwards. I tripped on my darn dress. I told you to wait, Jack said. It's too dangerous. Just then something fell from above. Watch out, said Jack. He put his hands over his head. Hey, it's a rope, said Annie. Jack saw a thick rope dangling down the stairs. Where did this come from? He asked. It's like when Morgans dropped the ladder to us, said Annie. I bet someone's trying to help us. Yeah, but who? Said Jack. Let's find out, said Annie. She grabbed the rope. I'll use it first, and once I'm at the top, you come after me. Okay, but hurry, he said, and be very careful. Jack waited as Annie started climbing up the steps. Now, who do you think dropped the rope?
Morgan came with him.
Y'all, it's Morgan. No one had anything different. Who do you think dropped?
I think it was some person from the island. Yeah.
Annie held onto the rope as she climbed slowly up the stairs. Soon she vanished over the top of the cliff. What's up there? Jack shouted, but his voice was lost in the sound of the waves. He grabbed the rope and started up the steep steps. At the top of the cliff, he pulled himself over the edge. Aha! Boomed a deep, jolly voice. It's another little invader. Y'all still think it's Morgan? Okay. Last chapter. Chapter 3. Brother Patrick. Jack's glasses were wet from the mist. He quickly wiped them and then looked up. A man in a brown robe stood before him. A man with a round red face. He was bald except for the fringes of hair around his head. Nearby the rope was tied around a tree. I'm not an invader, said Jack. He's Jack, said Annie. She was standing behind the man. I'm Annie. We're from Frog Creek, Pennsylvania. We come in peace, stammered Jack. The man's blue eyes twinkled. Oh, do you now? He said. I wonder what's going on. I dropped the rope so I could climb down the steps, but you two climbed it instead. How in the world did you get on this island? Jack stared at the man. He didn't know how to explain the magic treehouse. In our boat, Annie said quickly. The man looked puzzled. Not many boats come ashore at this dark early hour. Well, we're very good sailors, said Annie. Oh, brother, thought Jack. He hoped their sailing skills wouldn't be tested. Where exactly are we? Asked Annie. And who exactly are you? You're on an island off the coast of Ireland, the man said. And I'm Brother Patrick. Whose brother are you? Said Annie. The monk smiled. The brother means I'm a Christian monk. Oh, you're one of the monks who saved civilization, said Annie. The man smiled again. Annie turns to Jack and whispered, let's show him our cards. I trust him. Okay, said Jack. He trusted the monk too. They both pulled out their secret library cards and showed them to Brother Patrick. The M's and L's for Master Librarian shined in gray light. The monk looked at them and bowed his head. Welcome, my friends, he said. Thank you, said Jack and Annie. I did not truly think you were invaders, said Brother Patrick. But on our small island, we are careful of strangers. Why, said Annie. There are terrible stories about Viking raiders, he said. When we see their serpent ships, we must hide or be taken as slaves. Serpent ships? Said Jack. The prows of their ships are often carved in the shape of serpent heads, said Brother Patrick. I'm afraid it stands for their fierce, cold-blooded ways. Jack looked at the misty gray sea. Do not worry, said Brother Patrick. They cannot land safely on this island before daylight. They're not good as good sailors as some people, he winked at Annie. Too bad for them, she said cheerfully. But tell me, why have you come here? Asked Brother Patrick. Oh, said Jack, I almost forgot. He pulled Morgan's paper from his leather bag. He showed the Latin words to the monk. Serpens Magnum. This is the title of a story that we have to take back to our friend and teacher, Morgan Le Fay, said Annie. I see, said Brother Patrick. He gave Jack and Annie a mysterious look. What's he thinking? Jack wondered, but the monk changed the subject. I think you would like to visit our monastery. There it is, monastery. He said, what's that? Said Annie. The place where we monks live and work, said Patrick. But the sun's not up yet, said Jack. Won't the others be asleep? Oh no, said Brother Patrick. In the summer we rise long before daylight. We have much to do, you'll see. The monk led them up the dark path. Jack hoped their books was at the monastery. He wanted to leave the gloomy island with its threats of Viking invaders as soon as possible. A low bell started to ring. Jack saw a lonely church steeple against the gray sky ahead. Y'all enjoy the story? Y'all look sleepy.
No.
Wake up. Wake up. Y'all want me to finish the book?
Yes.
No. Okay, so who are our characters? Who's Morgan? No, come on, describe. Morgan is there. There she is. What else does Morgan do?
She's the librarian.
What else? One more. Anybody?
She's the teacher.
Yes, yes she is. Who else is our character?
Jack.
How old is Jack?
But I know his little sister Annie. She's 8 years old.
And he is a he's a monk. Is anybody know what a monk is?
A monk is a person who prays and help people. They help with the civilization.
Civilization. Gotcha. And our last character, and Annie is.
Jack's brother, sister.
All right. And what is Jack and Annie?
Brother and sister.
What else?
Family.
Oh, what else?
I mean, not friends.
Master library.
Yes. There we go. Now, told y'all I have any work for you to do. But if you want me to read, I'll read it next week. Okay? You want me to read next week?
Yes.
You do? Gotcha.
Are you gonna read all the way to chapter 6?
Want me to do 6?
No, like 3. We want to do
Oh, you want to do 3 more?